Hello, I'm Craig Constantine.
Hey, I'm Alex DiPalma.
Hi, Alex. I,
Hi.
I I often get excited, but I'm really excited because I've waited. Well, not that I've waited, but I've been like searching for an excuse to ask you to join me on some show. Some might even say I invented an entire project. Did
hmm
40 episodes just to figure out how to invite Alex. But so it's super fun to get a chance to, well, first of all, to nail you down. So like you show up, right? Like, cause you're so busy, you do so many things. So as I say to everyone, oh my gosh, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to show up.
Thank you.
I love getting a chance to talk to people. We
Yeah.
do, as all the listeners know, we do like this little pre conversation chat thing where we kind of figure out what we want to talk about.
hmm
And today we're going to talk about, whoa. So when I when I asked you about podcasting,
Uh-huh.
you quite honestly, and I always know I'm in the right place when you get that the pause from the person like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, so that's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, and you and I were sort of commiserating about, oh, podcasting, love it. And also, it's kind of eating my face these days with too
Exactly.
many things going on. I don't, I mean, I'm assuming everybody knows, but people may not know how much you do like behind the curtain. I love the Wizard of
hmm
Oz, like the person behind the curtain.
hmm
And I'm wondering, like, what do you do when I call it the dark dog, when the dark
hmm
dog shows up and you're just like, I don't know that I can, like, what are some things that make you look at podcasting and you go, whoa, okay, if that's something that I get to work on, that's something I get
hmm
to dip my toes into. What are the things that are really lighting up your passion with
hmm
podcasting these days?
hmm Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I think I love the idea of your podcast and like the experimentation you're doing, and it's super inspiring because, like you had said, um, we'll get more into it, but I'm feeling a little I'm struggling to be inspired by podcasting right now. But even like a podcast like this where you said to me before we get started recording, like I set out to take away every element of a podcast that takes time and work and just like ship a podcast, which is amazing. And so that's the kind of thing, honestly, like when you're asking me what makes me inspired with podcasting. First of all, at this point, because I do everything behind the curtain, I'm a producer, so this is
Mhm.
like kind of rare that I'm the one on mic, but
Yeah.
I enjoy it because I love talking to you, and especially you're so good at talking to people. It's nice being in a conversation with somebody who's so good
Uh,
at
Thank you.
conversations. But the first thing I look for, it's selfish at this point, but I look for a project that I'm going to have fun producing. So if I see a project and I'm being offered it, or it's on somehow it has come across my desk and it seems like something, and I'm at this point right now and it's like a luxury, it has taken me kind of a long time to get to this point where I can say no to things. But like, if there's a project where I have any inkling that it's going to be a chore, I mean, work is work in some cases. Obviously there's going to be
Right.
bumps in the road, but if it's going to be something where I'm like, this project is going to be a nightmare for whatever reason, like I immediately trust my instinct now
Mm,
because over the past 5, 10, however many years I've been doing this, like I have been burned too many times. You know what I mean?
mm.
Like, and
Yeah.
every time I'm burned, I know I look back to the beginning of the project and I know that I had doubts in the beginning. And
Mm.
I'm like, I should have trusted that. You know what I mean? And so, number one thing, like the team that I'm working with needs to be cool and needs to be on the
Oh
same
my
vibe
God.
as me.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's just not worth it to me at this point, like to be forcing myself into a box to work on a certain team. So definitely the
Mhm.
team has to be great. Obviously, subject matter. So Domino Sound is a production company that I run with my partner, my business partner, my life partner, Kenya. And the mission at Domino Sound is it's quite simple, and I think a lot of people have this mission now. But like, we're really trying to do things differently in the podcasting industry, and by doing things differently, that means having different talent on mic. That means basically highlighting what we would call underrepresented voices, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But not just necessarily making them the host of a show, but getting them involved in production, making like empowering people who might not have been formerly empowered in the
Yes.
podcasting industry. So it definitely has to align with that. And then also what inspires me is like some of the podcasts we put out, like for instance, we have a podcast that we've been putting out for the last 4 years, which is crazy, but it's called Food for Thought. And it's hosted by 4 queer multiracial writers. And over the past 4 years, we've gotten just so many incredible DMs and emails and notes from listeners saying how much the podcast has helped them, like queer people in the Midwest or in a country, like a small village in England, like saying like,
Mhm.
I'm listening to this podcast and I feel like I'm at brunch with my best friends on Sunday, but I don't have any gay best friends. And so like, this is
Mhm.
my outlet and I'm finding community here. And so that's another thing that like is definitely inspiring to me. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, so first of all, so your passion is freaking obvious.
Yeah.
Please, more people like you in the industry. I guess I'm technically in the industry.
You
I don't
are,
really
of
like,
course.
but I'm like a guy in a house. Like I'm not. I don't know. Like I feel like that's part of what. Um,
I see
so
what
I
you
don't want
mean
to
though.
say,
Yeah.
but sometimes I go like I not that I want to go to an office, but I feel like I should like be hanging out with my peeps,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
like, but I'm on a Zoom call. I'm like, all right. I mean, I see
Yeah.
a lot of people on Zoom, so I guess I'm in the industry, but maybe, maybe I feel like I'm missing a piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like frantically writing down words, partly because I'm searching for the title of the show, which I think is going to be
Yes.
Whoa, WOA is going to be the title of the show.
I
But
love it.
you mentioned team and instincts,
Uh-huh.
and one of the things I thought of when you said instincts is like I'm a big fan of journaling. So I journal like
Mm-hmm.
for self-reflection, and I
Mm-hmm.
write journal entries all the time, like, well, that went badly, and
Yeah.
I want to make like a hand mirror, which like on the back says, here's the answer. And when you pick up the mirror, like you're just looking at
Yeah.
yourself, like,
Yeah.
here's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
problem.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so that idea of like pay attention to your instincts just
Yeah.
rings so true.
Yes.
And the idea of the idea of like the short game versus long game, or
Yeah.
some people say finite versus infinite games.
Mm-hmm.
I find that anytime I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm expecting this person's going to share it, and then that's going to lead to this. As soon as I
Right.
start playing that, oh God, it becomes a
Exactly.
problem. But every
Yes.
time that I go, I don't know, I think it'd be cool to talk to Alex.
Right. Exactly.
Great
Yes.
things. I'm like, I come away
Yes.
like that was awesome.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, instincts would be. Did you mention the name of Domino Sound? That Domino
Yes.
Sound is your company. I didn't
Domino
know that you
Sound.
mentioned.
I
Yes,
mentioned
I
it,
like.
but
Want to
we
make
can
sure that
mention it again. Domino Sound.
yes, definitely needs to go in there.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and you mentioned team,
Hmm.
and I don't know how big your team is or how small your team is, but when if you're so let's like look outward, let's think about
Hmm.
somebody who's listening, who's like doing this by themselves, they're just
Hmm.
podcasting for fun,
Hmm.
and they're thinking, okay, I think I need to find somebody. If somebody is thinking about making a team, and it's just like
Hmm.
I'm adding one, now there's two of us, is it better, do you think, to I'm going to say to reach up or reach down? Like
Mm.
find somebody who's passionate about podcasting but
Hmm.
doesn't know left from right on the headset,
Hmm.
or try to hang out, like should I hang out with Alex, and I don't
Hmm.
actually want to beg you, but like beg Alex to be on my team, or should
Right.
I go find somebody who's just starting? Like, do you have any
Right.
feel for, is it better to like
Yeah.
build from
I
scratch
actually
or
I love this question. I would say in between those, like I would say like reaching across to people who are like on
mm,
your level. And like I mentioned Food for Thought, which is the podcast that like honestly that was kind of the start of Domino Sound. That was the start of me getting out of corporate podcasting. And like so the start of Food for Thought was there's an amazing list serve. It's like a Google group and it's called, I don't know, should I be saying this? It's called like NYC Public Radio or something. And it used to be years and years ago for like the people in New York City Public Radio. And
mm,
now it's essentially like thousands and thousands of people from all around the world who are like somewhat related to podcasting. So it's like a huge group, but it's basically where gigs are posted and people kind of talk. You would be great in it because there's a lot of equipment talk, and I know you're like a tech whiz. So it's kind of like a nerdy radio forum. But anyway, like 4 years ago when I was kind of getting out of public radio and just getting into podcasting, Food for Thought posted, the host of Food for Thought had never podcasted before. There were 4 writers, and they said, Queer Podcast is looking for a queer producer. And
mm.
this is an unpaid gig. Like, we have no money. We're going to be paying for studio time ourselves. And like, we're doing this like because we love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And at that point,
bootstrap, right?
exactly, bootstrap. And at that point, like if any of us had been in different places in our career, because in the past 4 years, there's 4 hosts and myself. The hosts have all gotten exponentially more famous, like insane. And my career has obviously like gone in a, like, gone in a different direction as well. Like I'm not a beginner anymore. Like I've gone further, and
Yeah,
so like
not a
if
beginner,
any of us,
expert.
exactly, if any of us had kind of not aligned in that moment, like we wouldn't have done an unpaid gig. I wouldn't have like
Mm,
been putting in money for studio time. Like, and at that point we were all kind of like level, you know what I mean? And so like, if they had
yeah.
been looking for a producer that was like an expert, like they would have said, F you, I'm not doing an unpaid thing. And then somebody who wasn't had zero experience, like they really wouldn't have been able to
Wouldn't have
help
got what they
either.
needed.
Exactly. They wouldn't have
Yeah.
gotten what they needed. And so seriously, like apart from the food for thought thing, I think part of like the joy that I've had in this industry or within podcasting has been like rising with people, you know what I mean? And so like
Mm,
it's like
yeah.
finding people
Rising
that are
tide
on
lifts all boats.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's true though. And it's like it's also I don't know. I find that dynamic is more I don't know. I definitely have mentor figures. Like, as you know, Seth is a huge mentor, and I would not be anywhere near where I am without him. And so that's a different dynamic. But finding people that are, I guess, are like parallel with you or horizontal with you. What's that? Like on your level? Like
Yeah. Parallel.
it's like
Right.
a it's almost like less transactional in some ways. Not that like there are mentorship relationships that are not transactional, but when you guys are like seeking the same thing and to like rise at the same pace in the same way, I think there's something really, really cool about that. So
Oh,
I would recommend that.
I am nodding
Yeah.
vehemently. I'm trying not to knock my headphones off my head. Right. I
Yeah.
I love I always love when I ask a question. People go, "Well, that's a good question, but here's
Yeah.
actually what you should have asked me."
Yeah.
And your point about going in the middle, like, "Oh, yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly the right thing."
Right.
There's what is it's something you have an idea and it's like how do you words into sentences, but
Yeah.
there's an idea. Artists are sometimes like paint, like physical artists are
Yeah.
sometimes told to don't do work for free, like never
Yeah.
do it for exposure. And then sometimes you hear people say, no, the best gig I ever did was for exposure.
Right.
And I've always like I don't consider myself an artist in that sense.
Right.
I've always wondered, like, well, now which is it? And now I'm thinking, oh, right, the obvious answer is do it for free when you're
Exactly.
getting as much as you're giving, when it's that reaching across the parallel,
Yes.
which I'm like, oh,
Exactly.
brilliant, Alex. I'm taking that idea. And that's going to be anytime I hear that, I'll be
Right.
like, no, actually, it's
Yeah.
sometimes do work for free.
Exactly. And this is another thing where your instincts come in, you know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
even I'm talking about my career is different now than it was 4 years ago. And I would probably be less likely to take a free gig. But like I've had a million calls with like students or people who have absolutely no budget, but like are really like aligned with the Domino Sound mission, or people who just like are really interesting projects that they really don't have a budget for. And I'm super open to doing that work too. And I
Hmm.
think you're completely right. Like it's a question of whether you're going to get out from the project or from the work, like what you're putting in. And I think there's a
Yeah.
million situations where it's not coming down to money, you know?
Mm.
So yeah.
It's like, I get to talk to Alex. Sorry.
I love it. I love it. I'm just as excited as you are, I promise.
What's funny is sometimes people are like, that was super fun. I'm like, oh, I actually have no idea what I'm doing. I just get
Hmm.
excited and I'm curious and I'm just like, I'm
Listen.
too dumb. Like I got involved in parkour 10 years ago,
Oh
which is running and
wow.
jumping and playing. And I don't jump
Okay.
across rooftops, but running and jumping and playing. And all the people who are famous in parkour, they're just like little kids. Like if you
Yeah.
ask them a question,
Yeah.
they answer it.
Right.
Or so I'm the guy that's like, oh, what's going on over there? I don't know. Let's go ask across the street, And
Curiosity.
oh, yeah, it's also how the cat got killed. But
Oh.
curiosity is like sometimes people like to talk about the superpower. Oh, let's do this. The
Yeah.
superpower question.
Hmm.
People ask me, what's my superpower? If
Yeah.
I was asked, and I would say, I think it's either curiosity, and then now I
Hmm.
actually think it's learning how to listen, even though I'm doing all the talking. So
Very
if
nice.
I coming at you, if I
Yeah.
asked your friends what your
Yeah.
superpower is, what would they say?
Hmm. I think it would probably be something along the lines of connection, like
Mhm.
making connections with people and like one-on-one connections, but also I think I'm good at connecting other people as well, And so
Mhm.
it's a whole situation where like when I have a friend, like they'll become friends with it's just like a whole network thing,
Yes.
And I think so like so I'm definitely proud of kind of like the people in my life,
Mm.
like more so than I am of myself. Like a lot of times Kenya and I will like sit here and like think to ourselves like it's really crazy the people that we have in our life, like the people who are around us and like our team, you know what I mean? Like our best friends, like,
Yes.
and it's like not team in the work sense whatsoever, but like the people who we associate with, you know, and not for any reason other than like, I mean, of course, many of them are like accomplished and I respect and admire their work so much. But it's really just like everyone that we keep in our life is really bringing something to the table. You know what I mean? And so like,
Yeah.
I guess I like to think of myself in that same way. Like I always, and maybe this is like an insecurity or past insecurity, but like a fear that I really used to have was like being somebody that didn't bring anything to the table in so many senses. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and now
I'm
that
laughing because I've never seen that, Alex. I don't know what the heck you're
I
talking
don't,
about.
maybe that's why, like, I don't know. I think that was just one of those things. Like, it's just like, maybe that's a quality in a person that I find like troubling
Well,
is people who don't. And so I like, yeah, I guess that's,
there's that like positive, I was gonna say positive feedback loop, but maybe like the
yeah,
upward spiral of
yeah,
self-awareness,
yeah,
which looks like that. And and
yeah. I like
upward
that upward
spiral,
spiral of
it's
self-awareness.
like
Did you invent that?
oh, no, 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 no.
Oh,
The
okay.
upward spiral that that comes from, brain look up.
Upward spiral of self-awareness. I love the
Yeah, I
image.
think that might come from Leo. Oh, how do you say his last
Okay.
name? Babauta,
Okay.
Bauta.
Bobote.
It's the guy from Zen Habits,
Oh, okay.
ZenHabits.net.
Cool. Okay.
Um, yeah. Anyway, sorry, but what I like about the upward spiral is everybody gets the metaphor about like you're going upward.
Hmm.
It's a slow rate. You're making progress, but in an upward spiral, you can look across the spiral at all
Yeah.
times. So you can see where you were just like half a loop
Yeah.
ago, but you can
Yeah.
also look down and go, man, look where I came from. And
Whoa.
that idea of like, so I think when I go, I don't know about this. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
sure I know it. Do I really? That to me, that's me. Like I'm looking down. Like it's hard to
Yeah.
do with the mic, right? I'm like
Yeah.
looking down the spiral. And I'm like,
Right.
yes, look, there was cute Craig like 10 years
Right.
ago. Oh my God, you
Oh.
were an asshat, right? But it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
but just half a loop ago. But look at the, then it's like, yeah, and if you look up, like,
Yes.
so I love the way you talk about. I love that the way that you're talking shows that you're self-aware about,
Mm.
yeah, this is what I'm good at. The
Hmm.
superpower question, which I think I stole from Tim Ferriss,
Yeah.
is you can ask people, what's your superpower? And then people
Right.
demur. They're like, no, I don't, but if I say, what would your friends say? People
Yeah.
always answer the
I like
question.
that.
And
I like
they
that.
forget that, but they just give me their own answer. They're just like,
Yeah.
well, I think they would say that I'm awesome. And they
Yeah.
just
It's a
launch
good
into it. And
framing
it's
though.
just those little, like framing there's so much to
Hmm.
framing. So the spiral idea of just look across at where you
Hmm.
were or where you're going.
Hmm.
And so it's completely obvious, has been, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to like try and jam it in here somewhere,
Yeah.
that you're very self-aware of what you're doing, like what you're saying
Hmm.
in this conversation. I've seen you in a few other conversations, right? The work that you're choosing, the like this, even the spaces that you create, like
Yeah.
you're in a space that's full of light, and
Yeah.
like some people show
Exactly.
up and like, oh, we're only recording audio. They like show up in a dingy corner, which is fine, not like okay, but
Right.
you clearly want a space that energizes you. So I
Yes.
think all
Definitely.
of that, like, yeah, I'm picturing a
Yeah.
cauldron, and all the stuff that goes in
Yes.
there. And it's all these positive things
Yeah.
which generate the Alex that, then is behind the scenes pulling the levers and
I'm
making cool
loving these
podcasts.
visuals, Craig.
In a
Seriously.
podcast, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
me waving
They're
my
really
hands. I had
good.
to work really hard to get the mic stand, where I can be like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
Italian.
I know.
We joke, if you want to get my mom right to shut up, you just grab us by the hands and we go like, we don't fight.
I
We just
love it.
stare at
I
you.
love it. I love it.
Let's see. Any last, was there anything that was on your mind on your way to the recording that we didn't get to that you want to get to?
I don't think so. I
It's
mean,
just a
there was
lob.
nothing. I got your note about like not coming with anything prepared, and so I was just like open to whatever we talked about. So there's nothing like on my mind that we didn't cover. I just loved the
Cool.
conversation, and once again, I love that you're like experimenting with the production aspect of podcasting.
I
And I
I
think it's
steal
really
from the
cool.
best. I seem to recall taking a
Yeah.
course 25 months ago where some people were saying things like "go go go, just ship it."
Yeah.
What's the simplest thing that could possibly work? I
Yes.
think David Dubinsky, outside of the course, at some
No.
point said MVP, minimum
Yes.
viable podcast, and that's what this
Yes.
project was. I
He's
I
the best.
literally said I want to figure out how to have cool conversations with people. 20 minutes, which means I can do a half hour,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do anything else. And like,
Yeah.
well, okay, that's a
It's
thing.
genius. It's
So,
genius.
if anybody listening is in any way inspired by that, go,
Yeah.
go, go, as they say.
Yeah. Go, go, go.
All right. As much as I hate to say it, I think that's a good place to stop for today.
Thank you,
Alex,
Craig.
yeah,
I'm
we're
making
both
a
thinking
heart
like
symbol to you over the
nobody heard
screen.
that, right?
We're just doing hearts to each other.
I
Thank
gotta learn. I gotta
you.
learn Morse code so I can like
Yeah,
tap "thank
exactly.
you" on the microphone.
Thank
Break all
you,
the rules.
Craig. What a
My pleasure,
pleasure.
Alex.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
taking the time.
All
Bye.
right. You're the best. Bye.